It's time to get educated on the craziness impacting K-12 classrooms and college campuses around the world.
Hello everyone and welcome to the program. I am Katie Patrick, joined by the man who knew too much, Mr. David Fiorazzo. Before obviously we get started, we need you to please hit that share button so that we can actually educate more of you patriots around this fine country. Today, we are going to start in Los Angeles, California, where new teaching materials are now instructing educators to not only have 5-year-olds experiment with pronouns, but of course, they're going to also require teachers to keep a student's gender transition a secret, from their parents. David, please get us started on the details as to what's happening in the LA.
Sure. Daily Wire headline, LAUSD imposes radical gender teacher training. Curriculum materials instructs teachers on not disclosing students' gender identity. So let's get into the article here. First, let's notice one thing. Not telling their gender identity to whom? Parents.
Parents,
That's right. Keep it from the parents. And of course, so the government school district teaches kindergartners, this is another point that Katie mentioned, to experiment with pronouns. Kindergartners, you know what, Katie? I think I was in junior high before I understood what a pronoun was, but these are kindergartners. So the government school district, the LAUS, USD. I want to say LSD for some reason.
You know, if the shoe fits.
The LAUSD. So they're a huge, massive district, more than 600,000 children, the majority of whom are racial minorities and poor families. So Christopher Rufo, some great work that he does. Thank you.
Can we just applaud him?
Yeah,
Rufo?
applaud.
Thank you.
He said LAUSD is pressing teachers to impose race, gender, and queer theory on students through academic conferences, curriculum materials, and teacher training modules. And this first document was obtained by Rufo. It's a list of guidelines for teachers entitled, easy for me to say, entitled Queer All School Year. You thought Pride Month was enough. Now it's Queer All School Year. Katie?
And all of these documents, including the one you're seeing right there, the Queer All School Year, in the calendar we'll talk about in just a moment, they are coming from, of course, the Human Relations, Diversity, and Equity Department. And Christopher Rufo had to go find these documents to be able to share with all of us. And what is contained in this lovely calendar that used to just be 1 month of June being the Pride Month, but now every month is a month of something.
All year long.
So, I mean, in September, right? You know, I don't know if they kick off in August or September, but it's September, usually back to school season. This is when they are going to prep for next month's Solidarity Week. So a whole month ahead, they're going to prep for a week of solidarity. But they're also going to teach the LGBT inclusive curriculum for all year. So, I mean, we got to hit the ground running or walking, or at least, you know, trying to find the end of the rainbow for the Rainbow Club, as you see in August, which is supporting students who are into starting an actual GSA, the Gay Straight Alliance, or the Rainbow Club. So, I mean, you know, school may have started, it may not have, but we're going to get them immediately. We got to start the clubs because we got to get them going, because then we have something going on every month of the year. And of course, it's not only just the Pride, it's the Black Lives Matter. They need to be included too. So for the kindergartners, again, this is all for kindergartners as well. You know, they have to be ready for February, when it used to be, you know, Valentine's Day, and show the love to everyone. No. It's just participating in the Black Lives Matter in Schools Week of Action for your 5-year-old, because they need to be active in taking action for Black Lives Matter.
Wow.
Apparently.
And yeah, let's clarify and say Black Lives Matter Global Network Foundation that is Marxist driven. That's the worldview that's in our public schools. We need to be very clear on this. In February, celebrate Pride Month with literature, art, music, poster campaigns, or lunchtime events. Oh, I'm sorry, that's June. February was the Black Lives Matter School of Action. But let's stress this point again, that these are guidelines sent out to teachers. So teachers are going to get this. So if you just think that, oh, it's not going to happen in your school because your teacher won't get this program or the notes, I don't know, it's a little naive.
And here's what it is. LA, see, here's what Mom and Dad, you're going to say. You're going to say, oh, LA, we would never have something going on every single month and take over this. But it's the slow creep. One book in the library. One drag queen coming in one time. It's the slow creep, one comment in your kindergartner's classroom about, well, maybe Johnny isn't a boy. Maybe Johnny's a walrus. If you've read Matt Walsh's book, which I have, side note, to my son, and he loves it. But anyway, it's the slow creep that's happening until you can finally ramp it up and escalate it to what LA is doing.
Let me add one other thing here. The conference, now you might say this is just Los Angeles, but what happens in Los Angeles doesn't stay in Los Angeles. The conference sessions include such titles as welcoming words and safe spaces, supporting students who are both neurodivergent and LGBTQIA, LGBTQ inclusive content and pedagogy for elementary and middle school classrooms. And here's an interesting one, what your queer middle schooler wants you to know. I think what the teachers union or the teachers want you to know, or your schooler. Breaking the binary in education. Another teacher training is titled Queering Culture and Race, learning about the history of the intersection between race, sexual orientation, and gender identity. Now, this is interesting that Rufo obtained a school policy bulletin from 2019, 3 years ago. This isn't new. 3 years ago, instructing teachers to address students by their preferred name and gender pronouns without any legal changes or, ready? Parents' consent. And Katie, parents are shocked.
Of course the parents are shocked. Why wouldn't they be shocked? It involves reading, then they apparently didn't do it because this policy has been in place for a couple of years now.
Yeah.
And yet they just put it in there, the entire, when communicating with a student's parent, legal guardian, or educational rights holder, school personnel should be aware that the student may not have disclosed their gender identity to their parents. Personnel should consult and work closely with the student to assess the degree to which, if any, the parent is aware of the student's gender identity or expression and is supportive of the student, and school personnel shall take into consideration the safety, health, and well-being of the student in deciding whether to disclose the student's gender identity or expression to parents. In other words, school says there are kids now.
With all the censorship taking place on social media platforms, we've made it easy to keep up with your favorite content. Simply download the Freedom Project Media app in your app store. Get access to 18 new videos a week, plus thousands of archived shows, lecture series, and educational animations. Download the Freedom Project Media app on your Apple TV, Roku, tablet, or phone, and make sure you allow for notifications to keep you informed.
Shocking news, breaking news, all the news. We are a sick world. And it continues in a story we have now from Michigan, where we have 3 Isabella County men who were arrested after allegedly trying to meet with minors for sex after posing as teenagers themselves, because that's what we do in this day and age. And this is according to the county sheriff's office. One of the 3 culprits there was a school employee with the Mount Pleasant Public School System. Now, the 3 guys arrested, the first there you see is Eric Roman, a 41-year-old, but then we also had Joel Middleton, who is 27 years old, and Jeffrey Davis, who is 59. Now, I want to be upfront here. First and foremost, no children were contacted, which is good. The officers who had pretended to be children had greeted the men when the men arrived, for the agreed upon meetup time. Now, Sheriff Michael Main has praised the work of the officers, saying that this would not be possible without the unified and dedicated support of so many agencies and law enforcement officers. So we have good things happening with our police and more bad things happening with our school system, especially this Eric Roman. David, what about Eric Roman? What's so special about him?
One thing he says, you got to watch this, he says a bunch of things describing himself, but he says he's vaccinated. I'm thinking, okay, how is that relevant? Why does that matter?
I want to know, is he left-handed, right-handed as well?
Yeah, ambidextrous.
Any of this?
Yeah, you know what? That means this is a political issue, isn't it? But the point is, pedophilia, some warned years ago that this would creep in under the, I guess, agenda of gradualism, right? And here we are again. Now, let's just see this video of him talking at Mount Pleasant in Michigan at, was it school board meeting or something? Okay, let's watch this.
I'm a resident, townie, taxpayer, vaccinated and functioning, graduate of this high school, class of 1999, proud member of the LGBTQIA community, and an employee of Mount Pleasant Public Schools. So many of your children are hurting, questioning, struggling in this world that we have created. They are simultaneously being taught to celebrate and to hate who they are. I can't deny that. Every day. Ultimately, they will become who they will become with or without us, with liberty and justice for all.
What?
For all.
Katie, but they're hurting. Yeah.
These people, the crazy ones. The fact that he can't even spit out what he is there to spit out kind of says everything you need to know. The LGBT soup plus ampersand, exclamation point, quotation marks. They don't even understand what's happening. Now, Roman, since he is, a school employee, and we still haven't found out whether he's a teacher or something else. I've been trying to find this out, and one article said, oh, he's a teacher, but he's not on the website or anything. He's not listed, so we don't know in what capacity he's actually with a school system. Nonetheless, he's still part of a school system, which means he has access to our children. But he's he's known in the community because he's an employee. But after him speaking in front of the school board like that, and on other occasions, I'm sure he was well known to a lot of different people for a lot of different things. At this point, because we don't know what's going to happen with them, I hope they all get what's coming to them. We don't know what's moving forward with this story, but Mom and Dad, this story is like every story we've had in all 50 states across the nation. You're going to find at least one example of this sort of story. So it makes you wonder, at one point, do you take your own children's safety first?
Today's show is sponsored by our friends at MyPillow. Save up to 66% on all items at MyPillow.com when you use the code Dr. Duke. That's DRDUKE. Support this show by supporting a great American company.
Now, we've been railing on the public school system, rightfully so, as we always do, but hey, it's not just the public school system that is ruining your kids. Don't worry, we have private school systems that are also doing that. We have one of the schools that is part of the National Association of Independent Schools, the NAIS, and there are many others within that group, are also destroying our kids' minds, so that's something to think about. We have Grace Church School, which is one of the elite schools of the New York City, which reportedly hosted a virtual drag queen story hour with the Drag Story Hour NYC and its affiliate Says Me. It's SEZ me, because we have to be coy about these things. And now this is according to a report from a former Grace School Grace Church School employee, or a math teacher named Paul Rossi, who basically said that I've had enough of this and I'm going to take it public, because the event actually happened last year in 2021. He's talking about it now, and he's trying to inform the public, because now he's like, I'm not affiliated with this. I can speak out as to what's actually happening. And according to what Rossi says, there are lots of schools involved in this type of stuff with the whole drag story, New York City stuff, and drag queen story hours, as we've talked about many a time, including the School of Chapin, the Dalton School, Berkeley Carroll, St. Anne's, and Poly Prep Country Day. And these schools don't offer an explicit endorsement or a partnership with the New York City-based drag queen organization, but let's just say they are A-okay with it.
I just want to say one thing. Church, Grace is church in the title, and they're having a drag queen. I want to say, what's up with St. Anne's? What kind of a organization or school is that to have a drag queen in there? So they're okay with that, right? And Grace Church School, the name of this, Grace Church School. So dragtivity. Thankfully, this teacher came forward and exposed this. But this is where this confusion is now seeping from the public schools into the private schools and so-called Christian or Catholic schools as well. This is when we have to go, okay, this is now moral relativism on steroids when it's getting into the churches. Public school system, it's almost expected, right? But that's what caught my eye first and foremost out of this story, that it's Grace Church School, and the topic is drag queens.
Of course, and as you mentioned, dragtivity. Well, there's a dragtivity book, because it's like activity book, but again, they have to be coy and call it a dragtivity book. And it's for kids. Well, duh, of course it's for the children's. Now, according to the book description, it is an educational tool for engaging kids in conversation about gender and identity. Kids often have questions after watching Says Me, which is this YouTube show, basically, where they have drag queens talking to children and they interview each other about like, oh, do you like drag queens? Or, oh, do you like dressing up as someone else who you're not? And they talk about it on the videos, but then they may also attend a drag queen story hour and have some questions about it. And, parents and educators, they don't have all the answers, but who does? These drag queens.
We started out doing programs for little kids, but we got so many requests to bring our program to middle and high schools that we created programming for teens as well. And the program we're going to be giving a taste of tonight is called Dragtivity Time. It's actually a collaboration between Drag Queen Story Hour NYC and Says Me, which is an LGBTQ plus web series for all ages.
Wow, of course. And you know what? We need to get the medical field involved in this, like a psychotherapist, I think is what he is, who, he'll explain the importance of this, and then he'll reveal himself as well.
Hi, my name is Leon Silvers. I'm a psychotherapist in New York City, and I also created drag therapy. So the Dragtivity book is a compilation of those questions put in a way that's fun, educational, and a way that can teach kids about gender, drag, pronouns, and many other different questions. Today, I'm going to read the Dragtivity book as my drag persona, Pink Freud, in order to give you an example on how you can use the Dragtivity book in an educational and fun way. Hi, I'm Pink Freud, and I'm going to be reading the Dragtivity book. Hello, dear dragberries. I am Hella Mella from Says Me. Are you ready for Drag Queen Story Hour? Great. And just like there are so many different kids in the audience, there are so many different types of berries. What kinds of berries are there? That's right, raspberries, blackberries, yeah, blueberries, exactly. As a drag therapist, I often talk about the therapeutic qualities of drag and how drag really is an important starting point on talking about gender and pronouns and really challenging the status quo and challenging what we think gender should be.
I think he may be a few berries short, just a few.
Drag therapist.
Yes, yes, psychotherapist.
Drag
no wonder
therapy.
Pink Freud. Get it? Like
Freud.
Of
I
course.
got it now.
Of course.
Drag therapy.
There you go. That's what it is. But just, it's not only him. Now, there was an interview that was done with the one who also created Says Me, which that guy talks about and we talked about. And they talked about how he became in drag, like he got involved in drag. And it was all because of seeing the other drag queens. And it's like, well, even as a grown adult, then that's how you get brought into the drag. So imagine your children. Wow, mommy and daddy, I want to dress up like the one who has no berries and put that makeup all over my face because I do that with my crayons and markers anyway. So I'm already set and all ready to go for the drag activities. But anyway, I digress over that point. As Rossi summarized what he talked about, what all this is happening, again, he's the one who actually exposed that this was happening at the school. He said that many private school parents are through with being gaslit that drag culture is somehow appropriate for children. And I only can hope that more parents are also sick and tired of it.
All right, before we go, let's take a little time to fill you in on some other stories we've been following, and let's start with the latest news that streaming giant Netflix has taken a big hit, losing roughly 1 million subscribers in the last few months. Good. The largest loss in the company's 25-year history, by the way. Did I say good? The drop comes after the service took a massive hit in the first quarter, losing 200,000 subscribers between January and March. The company, which currently has roughly 220 million subscribers, predicts it will gain 1 million subscribers back by the end of September. To help cover the financial impact, Netflix just announced a new partnership with Microsoft to implement an ad-supported subscription plan starting early next year. Now, so far this year, the company has laid off over 450 employees, dozens of part-time and contract workers, and lost roughly 70% of its stock. But not to fear, the company is still being valued at nearly $8 billion. But that's not all the news from Netflix. In a desperate attempt to crack down on password sharing, the company is now testing the ability for users to pay an additional $3 a month to share their account with people outside their home. The pilot program will first be rolled out in 5 Latin American countries before Netflix decides whether to implement the program worldwide. The streamer has been looking at ways to crack down on password sharing since a 2019 study found the company may be losing up to $192 million a month due to multiple users on a single account. The new $3 upcharge would allow users to add an additional home to their current account, which would create separate login credentials. Katie, your thoughts on Netflix getting creative to get more cash?
Well, I guess I need my login information back from you if that's how this is going down. So after the maybe, okay. But all I gotta say is if Netflix continues to keep the Great British Baking Show on there, they can have my money, unfortunately, because I just love that show so much. It's the only place I can get it.
Finally. Let's wrap things up with a story close to Katie's heart as the nostalgic game of Quidditch, made popular by the mega hit Harry Potter, is now getting a name change. That's right, Quidditch, the real-life sport based on the beloved broom flying game, has officially been changed to quad ball. Back in December, U.S. Quad Ball and Major League Quad Ball discussed the potential name change primarily due to 2 reasons: to trademark an original name, since Warner Brothers still owns the trademark for Quidditch, and to separate ties with Harry Potter author J.K. Rowling. Rowling has received criticism for her public stance against transgenderism. In a joint statement, the sport said, "Our sport has developed a reputation as one of the most progressive sports in the world on gender equality and inclusivity, in part thanks to its gender maximum rule, which stipulates that a team may not have more than 4 players of the same gender on the field at a time." The newly named sport of quad ball is currently played by nearly 600 teams in 40 countries. Who knew? Katie, the broom and the floor is yours.
Considering there are 72 million different genders, I don't think we have to worry about there ever being more than 4 of any one gender out on the pitch, as it would be called. But now that's quad ball instead of Quidditch. I mean, I'm not sure any of them have balls because they did not hold up to what Quidditch is for the Harry Potter.
But I wonder if they have berries. All right, that wraps up this segment. More to come next time.
All right, for all of us here at Freedom Project, please stay educated, my friends.